Good evening, this is RFC Maki, getting ready to narrate another of my combat videos. I should point out that all of my videos here are intended not as a lesson in how to fly, but in a battle report that I use to help figure out what it is I'm doing right and what it is I'm doing wrong. This evening's battle report is one I flew a little while ago. I've had saved on the Xbox for a little bit, and I decided I'd go ahead and play this one out. This has been one of my favorite kinds of combat videos. This is called a combat flight patrol, and I'm going to go ahead and let all of you who are doing this out of politeness off the hook. This is about 30 minutes long, and I even fast-forwarded parts of it, so it's kind of a long combat patrol that I don't think anybody who's really not into this is going to want to watch. So I think pretty much everybody but Duke Wells and Pops the Old Man have probably just walked out the room. For those of you who are remaining, I just want to let you know I've really been enjoying this combat patrol. I'd like to start off with taking off from an airfield, and my airfield of choice in this game, I'm flying on the Italy map. I'm imagining that this flight takes place something around early July 1943 in Sicily. At about this time in World War II, the Germans had lost control of Malta, which was an important staging area to go for the Allies to go after Italy. And the British, I guess, had misled the German command, letting them think that the main attack was going to happen in Greece. And so the Germans were quickly pulling everything out of Sicily and moving it over to Greece. So this will be early days, just when some of the first British patrols begin hitting up parts of Sicily. Now, I've just taken off from the Gerbini airstrip, and in this I'm flying a BF-109 G2, a nice plane. I've got the G2 Italian skin on here, so this is a 1943 109, and I'm flying with a flight of 3 wingmen. I'll be joined later on in this game by a number of Italian planes, and so I sort of imagine that we're primarily in control, that the Italian Air Force is giving us some aid, especially once some of the British planes show up. Now in this combat, there's some of my wingmen back there. So in this combat patrol, you're given a couple of waypoints that you have to fly to. Now I'm flying a custom mode where I'm flying in full sim airplane controls, and there's nothing, or no enemies at least are marked on the map, and no enemies are marked in the sky. Also, the waypoints are not marked on the sky, so in this case I have to keep consulting my map to check out to see where it is I'm going. The first point on the waypoint of this map is again, I don't do Italian here, but this is a site called I think Monte Santa Anastasia. I don't know, I'm probably doing it with a Spanish accent, and I apologize for that. But I've just sort of reached that point, and nothing's going on. So now I'm heading closer towards the coast, towards the city of Catania, which is sort of just up ahead on my left there. There's an airstrip down there as well, and I'm flying and trying to keep an eye out of things. Now, one of the cool things about this style of map is that there are sort of 2 indicators that enemies might pop up. You don't know where they're going to come up, but 2 indicators that enemies might pop up. The first of which is that your wingmen will give a little radio call that they've spotted somebody, and that's a good hint. That tells you got to start scanning the sky. And the second thing that is sort of a cheat, but in the lower left corner, a little pop-up shows you how many kills you need to make in order to move on to the next phase. And so usually there's like a little, I think in this case there's a 2-kill marker. Either I kill 2 planes, we get to move on, or my wingmen and I remove the entire threat, then we get to move on. There's actually a couple encounters that we have here. So I've just reached the coast. There's Catania off to my left. Just reached the coast and going out over the ocean, and it shouldn't be very long here that we get the call that there's some kind of encounter spotted. I'm flying the lead on this one, and the hardest part of any kind of game like this is being able to spot the enemies. And they may not show up on the resolution that I've got here, but a sort of a dip of my wing lets me glance below me, and certainly down there you can see a couple telltale dots. So I pull off from the throttle, slow my descent, pick a dot, and hopefully this is going to be one of the enemies. But I misjudge where they are and blow past them. A couple of useless shots there. Somebody starts taking a few shots at me, and you can see the flak popping up in the sky. I'll reverse on this guy. I don't even know what I'm shooting at there, and he wound up going over the top of me. So that was a giant waste. Roll over. I frequently get confused by which of the planes and which are the flak. Oh man! Once again, lost him. The toughest part about this G2 actually also works with the AMO is that there's a protection, an armor behind the pilot's head, which is great for keeping you alive, but it really sucks for seeing anything behind you. And so you really have to twist and move the plane in order to spot what's going on anywhere around you. Somebody just went down, and it wasn't my wingman, so I know that somebody brought down a Hurricane in this case. That looks like a Hurricane's body. I apologize for the freezing glitches. It's just part of the way the Xbox saves the games. Pull this up and take a couple quick shots. Managed to blow this guy's wing off. And I always enjoy, I mentioned useless, but I always enjoy looking back and watching the plane fall, seeing if it hits the earth. There's a couple other dots over there, so by this point I think we've checked at least two of them, maybe a third. I'm not great at spotting planes, but I can tell from here that plane I'm chasing right there is one of my 109 wingmen. So I'm not chasing him so much as I am following him, because the AI often have a better idea where the enemy planes are than I do. A second ago I think I was just chasing a parachute or something. And one of the things I really need to work on when I'm flying is to fly looking at or staying visually locked on a target. There goes a Hurricane, and once you do a head-on, these 109s are not built for reversing quickly. So in this case I'm trying to gain some altitude, then I can roll over and hopefully watch, but very often once I do that the enemy planes have disappeared entirely and I've got no idea where they are. So what follows is, or what tactic I wind up using in this case, is a lot of circling like this, kind of like a vulture, and keeping my eye out over one window. I tend to look out my left window, circle to the left and look out the left window. That way I can spot if somebody's coming up behind me. If I do spot something, I'll drop my nose down, use a little bit of a tail rudder, and reverse. Now in this case I wasn't able to reverse fast enough to really do anything, and missed that one. I'm still trying to chase that guy, so roll over again, a loop, and I lost him again, apparently. So all the action is happening just south of Catania, not that far from a city called Bartoli, or at least just north of a city called Bartoli. Lots of spinning and rolling, and when these playbacks, it doesn't have to show there some shots. The playbacks don't actually show you any of the on-screen markers telling you how many planes are left and or when it's okay to move on to the next target. And I flew this thing a while ago, so I may not remember exactly when it told me that we'd shot at enough planes to move on. Yeah, this is exactly the opposite of Storm Raiders or any of the Revo games, where it looks like that last shot really tore my wing up. My left wing is shredded there, although in this case the ailerons seem to work just fine, and there's no reason to bail out, so I stick with the plane. This game is exactly the opposite of Storm Raiders, where it's constant action, action, action. You're always on somebody's tail, somebody's always shooting you down, you land quick, get up in the air quick. This is a lot of looking, waiting, following, chasing. That was one of my own planes. I had to identify it as a 109, plus the shots behind me told me that there was somebody on my tail. You can see tracer fire from some of the ships below. So despite the fact that this doesn't have the tasty thrill of second action that Storm Raiders does, it's certainly, for me, is kind of as a thrill. Any kill you get is really a worthwhile kill, and very often worth remembering. And it's the rare moments that are really exciting. I kind of think of it something like the difference between, say, basketball and soccer. Basketball, the score at the end of the game is 80-something to 100-something, so there's something like 100 baskets in a game, which any one basket might be exciting, but they get lost in a sea of tons of baskets, whereas soccer, the score at the end of the game might be 1-2, so every goal that's scored is pretty exciting. And the pace of the game might be a little bit slower. That analogy might fit just as well. Here I am again, trying to follow those guys. Now, probably what I ought to be doing is putting some separation between me and the enemy planes, and then coming back and looking at them. But I'm always too impatient for that. I think at this point, those are my two wingmen there. I spotted them flying together, so I fall into formation with them. I'm pretty sure at this point that the Hurricanes are all gone. My wingmen seem to have done the job, and at this point haven't lost any wingmen. All four of us are there. I do appreciate the game when it gives us your pilot name. So the pilot that I'm flying right now is Dietrich Neumann. He's the lead in this flight, and he's currently dealing with a shattered left wing here, but it's not influencing the controls of the plane. So at this point, I'm pretty sure I've looked at the map and figured out where my next marker point is, and got to go fly to get to that. And then once I reach that, then head off to the next marker point. Here we seem to have joined up with a flight of Italian, I don't know if these are the MC-50s or the MC-200s, I can't recall which one. They look very similar, got a kind of a brownish paint scheme and a bright yellow nose. But these are the guys that I feel like there we go, you can see it there, the Italian. These are the guys that we're helping out, or at least in this case, in my imaginary scenario, they're helping me out. The one biggest challenge for me is that, on a very quick glance, the body of the Hurricane and the body of this MC-200 are very similar, with the main difference between being the shape and the color of the nose. The Hurricanes have a very pointy nose, but the camouflage color can look very similar from a distance. There's one of my wingmen. Leave him alone. And the actions move closer to the sea, so typically I've been trying to gain some altitude as best as possible, and these 109s are pretty good for climbing. There goes another Italian plane. And we keep moving towards the next marker, which I think, the next important marker anyways, is down by the town of Bertoli, just south of that, at a place called Primasole Beach. At this point I have no idea what's going on, so I'm trying to keep an eye out for, I think those are my two wingmen, and just above them are the flight of Italian planes that we're working with. You can get another good shot of my shattered wing. And oops, I don't know what that glitch was. But we're heading towards the beach area now. You can see we're getting ready to pass over our own ships. This does take a little while to get there, and this is the part of the combat patrol I find kind of fun. It's the sort of straight flights without anything else going on. I do enjoy looking back and seeing if I can't spot my wingman flying in formation, and there they are. I like to confirm that they're there following me. And we keep heading towards the beach. Gaining some altitude just in case I need to drop down on somebody. You can see down there the towns and the beaches. One way that this combat patrol works is you have a flight of planes. In this case, you have a flight of 4 planes, and if one of your planes gets shot down, you respawn into the body, or you reincarnate into the body of one of your wingmen. That presumes, of course, that your wingmen have not already been shot down, which I think is kind of fun. It essentially gives you 4 lives, or sometimes 3 or 2 or 1 life. Now, when I was playing this game, I was playing this particular mission, this setup, several times. Probably the first 4 or 5 times I played it, I failed it. Okay, up there, just off to the left of my target reticle, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planes coming in. Now I know those are the Hurricanes because I've got behind me the Italian and the German planes, so I'm trying to keep an eye on them. Zoom in a little bit, just keeping an eye for anything else going on, but moving out of those planes, and hopefully, I think my hope was I could sort of come in from the side, because they look like they're traveling to my right a little bit. There's my wingmen flying in formation, all 4 of us. So Dietrich is taking the lead and gonna drop it on these planes. Now my mistake should have been I should have gone a lot more oblique to these guys, because here they are pulling up at me. And now I'm going to do that really, really dangerous head-on, take a few shots, and try not to collide. Manage it. And my other dumb move there is, rather than, oh, this is really cool, rather than pull a lead turn first, which I think is the most useful tactic in this game, rather than pull that lead turn first to get behind the guys before they can initiate their reversals, I instead turned after them. Alright, sorry for the pause there. I had to go away and come back. Here I am getting ready to, following this Hurricane, engaging in what I ought not to, but in a turn fight. The guy's just spinning around in circles. I'm not sure where he thinks he's going. And I use a few little snapshots to try to take care of him. None of these are really holding on. I'm pulling G's while I'm shooting, so that's always a tough thing. You gotta lead them, but when you lead them, it pulls you under your nose. He's hidden and difficult to see. But I go ahead and keep trying this out. You can see I'm kind of losing velocity. My plane's shaky at this point. I've put myself in a really bad position, but managed to get the kill, let him go. So now the trick is to, I like to watch him go down. Now the trick is to keep moving, keep flying and gain some altitude, and see if I can figure out what else I can do. Lots of circular spinning, lots of chasing of these guys. Here's a Hurricane, looks like he's stalled, and I just didn't get the shot off. Almost ran into him as well. Do a rollover, drop the nose down, somebody just fired at me. Now I gotta see if I can't find a target. I'm dropping down. Once again, falling into the pattern of some serious spinning in early morning sunlight. What I really ought to be doing here is gaining some serious velocity, pulling away and then coming back. But I did not do that. Searching for a target, all the action is kind of low at the moment, close to the deck, which is a pretty dangerous place to be. Oh, and it looks like either my engine conked out from damage or I ran out of fuel. So this is where the exciting part gets. Now, ordinarily I would just, if this were just a game, I might get to the plane, hope to crash out, but here I drop my landing gear, and I like to play it out like I'm actually trying to save my pilot. So I'm desperately looking around for a place to land. Any sort of straight running path. This is an area with lots of houses and buildings, so it makes for a really difficult place to find a safe spot. But right in front of me, spot a little bit of a path between some buildings. So take my plane, see if I can't land it in this spot. What I didn't see here was it coming up. There's a bit of a hill that makes it even harder to find a space to land. But got wheels, a little bouncy landing there, but wheels are touching down. Come down this hill. Oh my goodness, there's some buildings in front, and I managed to just use my rudder to squeeze past a little bit, and in the end I clipped my wing off, but the pilot survived. So now I just respawned into my second wingman, and it looks like his cockpit's already been shot up a bit. I know he's pretty low on ammo as well, so I fly around in this one for a few minutes just to see if I can figure out what's going on. The plane works, it's just some holes in the cockpit that somehow managed to entirely miss the pilot. It does make for kind of a cool view, though. Hunting around, that was an Italian plane. Looking for someone to go for the next kill. A couple planes really low on the deck here. And I'm just going to try to squeeze in behind one of them. And I think with that, I discovered that my ammo was out, or nearly out. Nothing on those shots there. Keep turning, looking for the targets. All Italian planes. So I let him go. And then I decided to switch to my third wingman and follow him. He seems to be in much better position, and with a really quick shot, shoot that Hurricane pilot's wing off. So really, my first pilot got 2 kills. And then the third pilot that I'm aware of, at least while I was piloting the plane, he gets a kill as well. Italian bird, looks like they're chasing a Hurricane up in front, and they get in before. It's one of my 109 pilots there. Managed to get down that Hurricane pilot before I can get there. So I think, as far as I remember at this point, that pretty much allows me to move past. After you get the requisite number of kills, the remaining Hurricane pilots will typically turn and flee. Sometimes you can chase after them, especially because when they turn and flee, they tend to stop maneuvering and just sort of bail out as quickly as possible. It's fairly easy to line up behind them and get a few extra kills. I think at this point I decided to go ahead and fly back to the next target point, which was on the coast. Now, for a lot of people, I think this part of the game would be incredibly boring because you've already defeated the bad guys. Might as well go ahead and stop and move on, but I really do enjoy the feel of simulating a real patrol, in a sense that you have the takeoff, the fly out, the search, you have a couple encounters, and then you finish your patrol, and then eventually you return back to your airstrip, and so there's a nice feeling of being able to land whatever planes you have left back on the airstrip. So this is me sort of sticking low, but trying to arrive at the next targeting area, the next marker area, and keeping an eye out for things, because sometimes those remaining Hurricane pilots will, occasionally they will try to follow you back, and I've been shot down more than once just as I'm trying to land on my airstrip, so you do have to keep an eye out for them, but I'm pretty sure at this point that they've all fled the other direction or are out of action. Heading back to the coastal town. I don't remember for sure. I think this bigger town is what I'm heading towards. It's going to be the town of Gerbini again. At least heading up that direction, and then we'll be heading back out west, follow along and see if I can't. Yeah, that looks like it. Then head back out west to see if I can't find my airstrip. I think this weird cut scene right here is just sort of recording a victory. I'm not sure where that came from, but left that right back into my own plane. You can see the rivers here, so I'm starting to bend out west of those flights. It takes a little while to fly back, and so, like I said, for a lot of pilots this is kind of boring. I think in a second or two here, I, hopefully for you, mercifully switched to double or quadruple speed in order to sort of shortcut the time it takes to fly out. That's why it looks so herky and jerky right here. I've got it to double or quadruple speed just to sort of get to where we're going, get to the landing area pretty quickly. And I think at some point here, just for the curiosity, I think I tried to switch views to the external view to give the viewer something else to look at. What I wound up doing is going to the external view of my original plane. Yeah, there we go. You can see my original pilot plane. When I switched back, the focus went a little wonky, but it'll fix in a second here. And the rest of this will be flying low and getting ready to land safely back to the airstrip. The hardest part of flying a plane, as far as I'm concerned, and the real reason why I would never, I think, fly a real plane is because landing is just terrifying. It's a very tricky thing, and in this game, I can get my wheels on the ground, but I still frequently do so at too high of a speed, and at some point or another flip my plane over. I had an online game the other night where I had lost both ailerons due to fire damage, and I managed to use just my rudder to escape and get all the way back to my airstrip and drop my wheels and landed on the very edge of the airstrip. I thought at pretty good speed. I was thinking this is really epic landing, and managed to roll past the end of the landing strip before I could really stop, and then started to go up a hill and flipped my plane on the hill. Now, I think my pilot would have lived on that one, but still it was not quite the textbook style landing. So here, trying to keep an eye out for the landing strip as I approach, low and slow. You can use the map to help you figure out where things are. There's the landing strip just off to my left. So we'll put a little bit of a bank. I'm using a rudder here, alternate rudder there to sort of bleed off a little bit of speed. It's that little wiggle that you see there. And then see if I can't line up a good approach. I don't know who designs these landing strips, why they put a house right at the end of this thing. You can see flying over here, both of my two remaining wingmen are there, so all three of us from this original flight make it back to the landing strip. Drop the throttle back down to basically 0 at this point, and touch the wheels down. A little bit bouncy, but touch the wheels down, and once they're down, let the plane slow down in velocity until that tail drops. There are some brakes you can apply on here, and if you apply them too hard, there we go, the tail just dropped. Now I can pretty much apply brakes as I need to without worrying about flipping the plane over. Just a lot of tapping and slight movements, the plane slows down. And with that, in the end, I completed the flight out. 3 return with a loss of only 1 plane and no pilots. Cheers!